Dear children, you are all welcome to chemistry class. Dear students, today our topic is elements, compounds and mixtures. That is the third lesson of your textbook. We know that everything in the universe is made up of matter. On the basis of their chemical composition, matter can be classified into two broad categories, pure substances and impure substances. Impure substances are known as mixtures. Let us first study about pure substances. What is a pure substance? A pure substance is the one which is made up of molecules containing same kinds of atoms. The molecule may contain similar atoms or dissimilar atoms. A pure substance is the one which is made up of molecules containing same kinds of atoms. That is, a pure substance is made up of only one type of atoms or molecules. It has a fixed composition and is uniform throughout. The physical and chemical properties remain the same for a pure substance, irrespective of the place where it exists. Now let us study the characteristics of a pure substance. Let us see the characteristics. The first one, a pure substance has a definite composition and can be represented by a chemical formula. It has a definite composition, therefore it can be represented by a chemical formula. Chemical formula or molecular formula is used to represent elements and compounds. For example, a molecule of hydrogen consists of two atoms of hydrogen and a molecule of water consists of two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. We cannot have a molecule of hydrogen gas that has a different number of hydrogen atoms or a molecule of water that has a different number of hydrogen or oxygen atom other than this. Therefore, we represent a molecule of hydrogen as H2 and that of water is represented as H2O. If it is carbon dioxide, we represent it as CO2. If it is ammonia, we represent it as NH3. And if it is an oxide molecule, we represent it as O2. That is, a pure substance has a definite composition and can be represented by a chemical formula. Let us see the second characteristic. A pure substance has specific melting and boiling points and it has fixed chemical properties. The boiling point and melting point of a pure substance is fixed. You know that the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. That is fixed value. And a pure substance has fixed chemical properties. The next one is a pure substance is homogeneous. A pure substance is homogeneous. That means its composition remains the same throughout. The composition of a pure substance remains the same throughout. Therefore, we call a pure substance is homogeneous. The next one is formation of a pure substance involves energy. Hence, it cannot be separated by physical methods. Therefore, chemical methods are required to separate the components of a pure substance. Pure substance cannot be separated by physical methods. Chemical methods are required to separate pure substances, and formation of a pure substance involves energy. So, we studied about pure substances and their characteristics. Now, pure substances can be classified into elements and compounds. Pure substances are of two types. They are elements and compounds. Or in a way, we can say that elements and compounds are pure substances, means they have same composition throughout, they have fixed properties, they have fixed chemical properties, they have a fixed specific boiling and melting points, etc. Now let us see the first category, that is element. What is an element? An element is a simple and pure form of matter which cannot be decomposed into simpler substances. Elements are the pure substances which cannot be broken into simpler substances. We can say that elements are the building blocks of the universe. Elements are the building blocks of the universe. They cannot be further broken down or further decomposed into simpler substances. That's why they are known as the building blocks. Do you know how many elements are known today? We have 118 elements known today. We know that an element is made up of same kind of atoms. What is an atom? An atom is the smallest particle of an element which may or may not exist independently but can take part in a chemical reaction. So atom is the smallest particle of an element and an atom can take part in a chemical reaction. Elements may exist as monoatomic, diatomic, triatomic and polyatomic molecules. Let us see what are these. Before that, let us study about atomicity. The number of atoms in a molecule of an element is known as its atomicity. The number of atoms in a molecule of an element, it is known as its atomicity. Depending on the atomicity, we can have monoatomic, diatomic, triatomic and polyatomic molecules. Let us see monoatomic molecules. Monoatomic molecules or monoatomic elements. Elements having one atom in their molecules, they are known as monoatomic molecules. Elements with only one atom in their molecule. We have examples like noble gases, metals and carbon. Diatomic molecules are the molecules having two atoms, or elements with two atoms in their molecules are known as diatomic molecules. Example H2, N2, O2, Cl2. H2, hydrogen molecule, it's made up of two hydrogen atoms. Therefore, we can say that a hydrogen molecule consists of two hydrogen atoms. If you take chlorine molecule Cl2, we can say that a chlorine molecule consists of two chlorine atoms. All these H2, N2, O2, Cl2 are coming under the category diatomic molecules. Triatomic molecule, an example is ozone, O3. Ozone is a special form of oxygen and you might have heard about ozone layer and all. So ozone is a triatomic molecule. We represent it as O3. We have polyatomic molecules. Examples are P4, phosphorus and S8, sulfur. What do you mean by P4? P4 means a molecule of phosphorus consists of 4 phosphorus atoms. Or in other words, we can say that the atomicity of phosphorus is 4. What do you mean by this statement? The atomicity of phosphorus is 4. It means that there are 4 atoms in a molecule of phosphorus. And again we have S8. S8 means a molecule of sulfur is made up of 8 sulfur atoms. So we have polyatomic molecules like P4 and S8. P4 that can be termed as tetraatomic and S8 can be termed as octaatomic. Tetra means 4, octa means 8. Did you understand what is atomicity? The number of atoms in a molecule of an element is known as atomicity, and based on this we have monoatomic, diatomic, triatomic and polyatomic molecules. Let us study the classification of elements. Depending on their properties, elements are classified into three broad categories. They are metals, non-metals and metalloids. So we have three categories of elements: metals, non-metals and metalloids. Metals are typically found on the left side of the periodic table, non-metals on the right and metalloids between them along the dividing line. What is a periodic table? Do you know what is a periodic table? Have you seen it? It is simply a chart. A periodic table is a chart of all the 118 elements. As already said, we have 118 elements now till date, and these elements have been arranged in a table, and that table is known as the periodic table. In higher classes you will study about this periodic table. So metals can be seen on the left side of the periodic table and non-metals on the right side. And metalloids are seen between them. What are metalloids? Metalloids have properties that are intermediate between metals and non-metals. We have very few metalloids. They are boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic and antimony. These are known as metalloids. So what are the metalloids? We have boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic and antimony. Out of this is silicon. It is very important in the electronic industry. Silicon is very important in the electronic industry. Let us study the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Let us compare the physical properties. Go through the table. Metals are usually solids at room temperature, but there is an exception. Mercury is a metal that exists in the liquid state at room temperature. Mercury is a liquid metal. Remember, mercury is a liquid metal. Mercury is seen in thermometer. Thermometer liquid is mercury. It is a liquid metal. Non-metals, they may be solids, liquids or gases at room temperature. We have solid non-metal like carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, iodine, etc. And only one non-metal exists in the liquid state, that is bromine. Okay, bromine is a liquid non-metal. And of course we have gaseous non-metals like hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, fluorine, etc. are gaseous non-metals. Okay, then the second property is metals are hard. Metals are hard. Here also we have exceptions. Metals like sodium and potassium, they can be cut with a knife. That means they are not hard. They are known as soft metals. Sodium and potassium are known as soft metals because they can be cut even with a knife. On the other hand, non-metals are very soft. Here also we have exception. Diamond. Diamond is, you know about diamond. Diamond is the hardest naturally occurring substance. What is diamond? Is it a non-metal? Yes, diamond is a non-metal. It is an allotrope of the non-metal carbon, a different form of carbon. Diamond is a different form of carbon. We call it as allotrope. So even though non-metals are soft, we have an exception, that is diamond. Diamond is the hardest naturally occurring substance. You all know that. Then the third property is metals are lustrous and can be polished. What do you mean by lustrous? Lustrous, the word meaning is having a shiny appearance. Metals are lustrous, that means they have a shiny appearance and therefore they can be polished. What about non-metals? Non-metals are non-lustrous and dull. Okay. Here we have an exception. Graphite and iodine are lustrous non-metals. Graphite and iodine. Graphite, as I told you, diamond is an allotrope of carbon. The same way, graphite also is an allotrope of carbon. Graphite is very soft, and you can see graphite in your pencil tips. Your pencil tip is made up of graphite and clay. So graphite is soft, and iodine, another non-metal, iodine is lustrous. Graphite and iodine are lustrous non-metals. Remember, graphite and iodine are lustrous non-metals. Next property, they are ductile. Metals are ductile and malleable. Metals are ductile and malleable. What is meant by ductility? Ductile means metals can be drawn into thin wires. Metals can be drawn into thin wires. Gold is the most ductile metal. That means gold can be drawn into very, very thin wires, like the thickness of our hair. You can imagine the thickness of your hair. That much thin wire can be made from gold. So, ductility is the property by which metals can be drawn into thin wires. Malleability means it is the property by which metals can be beaten into very thin sheets. You may be knowing about roofing sheets and all. It is either made up of iron or aluminium. These sheets are made into, these sheets are made up of metals. They are made into thin sheets because metals have the property of malleability. Understood? Ductility and malleability are the two important properties of metals. On the other hand, non-metals are non-ductile and non-malleable. Non-metals are non-ductile and non-malleable, but we have carbon fibers. Carbon is a non-metal, and now carbon fibers are very common. It is used in nanotechnology and all. Then the next property is metals are sonorous. What is sonorous? The word meaning is that producing sound. Sonorous means producing sound. Metals produce sound when it is struck on an object. Metals produce sound. Produce a deep ringing sound when struck. That is known as sonorous. Metals are sonorous. Non-metals are non-sonorous. Another important property of metals, that is, metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. That means metals allow the passage of heat and current. Metals allow the passage of heat and current. This is the property by which we use metals for making cooking utensils. Cooking utensils are made up of metals. We are using aluminium vessels, copper vessels, iron vessels, pressure cookers, etc. are made up of, pressure cooker is made up of aluminium. Why do we use these cooking utensils made up of metals? Because they can pass heat. And for the transmission of electricity, we use copper wires. This is because copper can conduct electricity. In general, we can say that metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals are bad conductors of heat and electricity. Here we have an exception. Graphite is a good conductor of heat and electricity. I told you, graphite is the only non-metal which conducts electricity. Remember, graphite is the only non-metal that conducts electricity. Then the last point we have, metals have high melting and boiling points. Non-metals have low melting and boiling points. So let us go through the properties once again. Metals usually solids at room temperature. Non-metals may be solids, liquids or gases. Metals are hard, non-metals are soft. Metals are lustrous and can be polished. Non-metals are non-lustrous and dull. Metals are ductile and malleable. Non-metals are non-ductile and non-malleable. Metals are sonorous. Non-metals are non-sonorous. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals are bad conductors of heat and electricity. Metals have high melting and boiling points. Non-metals have low melting and boiling points. We studied about one of the pure substances, that is elements. Next, let us study about compounds. What's a compound? A compound is a pure substance formed of two or more elements combined in a fixed ratio. A compound is a pure substance formed of two or more elements combined in a fixed ratio. We have the common example: water, sugar, ammonia, carbon dioxide, all these are compound. And a compound consists of two or more elements. These elements are combined in a fixed ratio. For example, if we take water, water is made up of two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. And the smallest particle of a compound is the molecule. A molecule is the smallest particle that has the capability to exist independently. A compound has unique properties that are different from the properties of its individual elements. This is very important. A compound has unique properties that are different from the properties of its individual elements. That means a compound does not show the properties of its individual elements. It has different properties that of its individual elements. It can be more clear from this example. You know, water is a common compound that is familiar to you, and you know that it is a liquid. And what is water made up of? That also you know, it's made up of two elements, hydrogen and oxygen. You know, hydrogen is a gas, oxygen also is a gas. But what about water? Water is a liquid. And further, water is used for extinguishing fires. But oxygen is a supporter of combustion. Oxygen, without oxygen we cannot burn substances, and hydrogen is a combustible gas. It's a self-burning gas. Okay, so water, even though it is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, it does not show the properties of either hydrogen or oxygen. Another common example is common salt or table salt. What is it made up of? Common salt is made up of sodium and chlorine. The formula of common salt is sodium chloride. That is an important substance used in kitchen, and it is used for it is an important substance for food. And I told you it is made up of sodium and chlorine. Sodium is a soft metal. You see, sodium is a metal. What about chlorine? Chlorine is a non-metal. It is an yellowish green gas. But you know, common salt is a white powder. Okay, what does it mean? What do you infer from this? A compound does not show the properties of its individual elements. And again we have sugar. Sugar, you know, it's a white powder. It's made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. C12, H22, O11. That is the molecular formula of sugar. It's made up of carbon. Carbon is a solid non-metal. It is black in color. Hydrogen is a non-metal. That is a gas. Oxygen is a non-metal. That also is a gas. But sugar exists in the solid state. It does not show the property of these three elements. And you know, sugar is sweet in taste. Hydrogen and oxygen they have no taste at all. Carbon also has no taste. But sugar made from these elements, it is very sweet in taste. So remember, a compound does not show the property of its individual elements. It has unique properties that are different from the properties of its individual element. Assignment for the day is given here. Do the assignment in your notebook itself and send to me. It's very compulsory that all should do the assignment and send to me before 9 p.m. Here lies the assignment. Winding up for the day. Thank you.